Wagwan guys, welcome to yet another episode of Space Yako, the podcast. You can interact with us on our websites, that is wazi, WAZZII.ke, or dial *709#. I am your host for the day. Gladwell is my name.
Hi, Nature Shiko.
Hello, I'm Marlene.
And our topic of discussion today is sex education. And we have our sexpert with us today. See what I did there? Our sex expert. And her name is Doris Kathia, and I'll let her introduce herself to you all.
Thank you very much. My name is Doris Kathia. I serve at Raise Your Voice, a community-based organization. We work with young people, particularly sex workers and queer persons who are inclusive of young mothers, persons living with HIV or disability, all categories of young people within the ages of 10 to 24 years. And I love working with young people. I love sex education. I love empowering young people.
Nice.
So I'm just happy to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Karibu sana.
Please feel at home.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so, moving on. First, before we have a segment on our podcast called The Space Spice, and before we get to that, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to the people doing the activations on ground for Wazidada. I was there. And this is the hamper you get when you get the information. What was that? On Wazi. But guys, they have amazing gifts. There's a hand cream you get. There's cleansers. We have our Wazi cards for the games. And what is this called, Aisha?
Body scrubber.
Kiguaruzo, Kyoshi, Kyosheo. All that. And also body deodorants, guys. So I was really excited about that. And
How
shout
was it?
out. It was really nice.
What happens during the
The
activation?
activations.
yeah.
So basically, because we know not everyone is like on Instagram, on all our social media pages, there are people who use the
USSD code.
The USSD, yeah. So what they do, they go on ground, especially in informal settlements, and then they get to invite people to the tents. You can have your makeup done, you can have your nails done, really, and then you're shown how to interact with the bot directly. So, and on our Space Spice today, it says that young people are more likely to know about sex from pornography than a parent or a teacher. And because that is our topic today, I thought, that is from twinkle.com. That was the source of the information. And being that we're talking about sex education today, it's really sad because pornography does not show sex education.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't teach you anything, really.
yeah,
doesn't.
It doesn't in that sense. So this is just to introduce us to our topic today about sex education. I'm excited.
Sam.
I'd love you to comment on that.
Well, happy whoever asked that question, or if it's a research or anything.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yes.
Okay. So pornography does not teach anything related to sex education. Pornography is more of activity, the sexual activity, than education. When we speak about sex education, basically we are talking about providing information to people, may it be young people or older people, generally to ensure that they have accurate information when it comes to reproductive health, such that they're able to make informed choices or decisions when it comes to their whole reproductive system or bodies or anatomy, the bodily autonomy and all that. And when we are speaking about sex education, we are talking of relationships, we are talking of communication, consent, ensuring that people can make informed choices and even give consent when it comes to the actions or whatever it is that they want to do. So, for instance, if I want to engage into sex activities and my partner is not ready, then it gives me the information acquired through sex education ensures that we are able to communicate as partners and agree whether we want to work or rather engage into the sex activity or we don't, or because it all depends. You can't just simply because someone is your girlfriend or your boyfriend does not necessarily mean that you should be able to have sex anytime
Unataka.
kila time unataka. Uko kwa grau anasema kukazwa imaanishi ati lazima mkazane every time mse anataka. Unajua kuna wale watu wanakurukiliaga tu umefika kwa hao and then someone is like onto, exactly, is onto you. They hata hawakuulizi kama uko fiti, unataka, uko ready, but this then information ensures that you are able to consent, to communicate, to to agree on certain issues.
Okay.
When we are speaking also, sorry, mi uongea sana.
Yeah. I think I was about to switch gears. Yeah. Can you switch gears?
Yes.
All right. So in case you're joining us, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that maybe. Let's talk about it.
Sex, baby.
Let's talk about. All right, kama tuko na cards hapa. Alafu umeongea Kiswahili hapo katikati. I was about to ask, kwani ongeangi nini Kiswahili? Doris, umetukimbiza huko na Kizungu.
Sawa na kila kitu.
Sawa, so hapa tunachanganya lugha, sawa? All right, so I'd like you to pick a card. These are wazi cards. So just pick one and then I'll also pick one. Then we dive into the conversation.
Oh, this is interesting. Emergency contraceptive pills zinafaa kutumiwa as many times as you need them. True or false?
False.
False.
Wait,
Why would you think
but
false?
Okay. Mimi neza patiana like from a personal kind of experience. I used to take P2 very, very often, like mara mob sana. I don't know, si ndio ona na ifa hivyo ilikuwa ina mess up my periods like nimezoea like periods zangu zikuja after a specific duration inakosa kukuja, so niko hapo tu na stress and I'm like it just messes up my cycle. Sijui kama it happens to everyone else, so ndio maana mimi nasema false because I avoid them kabisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marlene, you didn't answer.
Miley, what do you think?
yeah. Okay. To me, I was thinking because this question is somehow biased. It's like zinafaa kutumiwa as many times as you need them. So as many times can be twice for me, and that is what is recommended. Like, okay, not really recommended, but if you have to use it at least as many times, it has to be twice, like
A year or a month or a week?
in an year, like twice. So it's like popping 2 pills, Evo 2.
So that's not according to what the question is.
Really? Yeah, that's why I'm saying like this question is somehow biased, but I'll give it to my understanding is that
Ngoja, please give me this card, Doris.
Okay.
oh umesoma?
Ngoja nikusome. Emergency contraceptive pills. Zinafaa kutumiwa as many times as you need them. True or false?
Can I tell you what I'm understanding from that? What is like many times to you? Many times to you can be 20.
Many times it can be sign nimetoka hapa, I go
Umekazwa.
nimeenda mechi away, nikachukua P2. Kesho nende mechi home, P2. You know, like it's on the frequent, like as many times as you need them. So it can be as many times as I am having sex. This is what it means.
Yeah. Okay.
Kwa sababu as you need them, inamaanisha ni kila saa ambaye uko na mechi.
My game. Yeah, now I understand it. I think that
So
is
true or false?
false.
Exactly.
So
kila saa. So I understand. So you can tell us, Doris.
Yeah.
Kuna emergency contraceptives and kuna regular contraceptives.
Yeah.
Tuchanue.
Okay. So for emergency contraceptives, it is false. That is the correct answer. And the reason why nasema it is false is one, emergency contraceptives ni hivyo tu vile tu jina inasema, it's for emergencies. And it does not mean that it's simply because leo umeenda nimesema kwa mtaa jina inatumika ni kukazwa. So allow me to use that name. Nimeipenda juu anyway.
Kukazwa ni mahanjo. Like
kukazwa ni
Mechi.
sex.
Kukazwa ni mechi, kukazwa ni... What is
like
mechi?
the
Mimi
kukulana
nimezaa
thing.
mechi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kukulana ndio kukazwa.
Ndio
Yeah.
kukazwa.
Mimi nadhani ni hiyo hamu
No.
sasa ndio kukazwa.
No, ni mechi. So basically imanishi simply because ni emergency ati leo nimeenda mechi na mse wangu niende nikunywe ama ni take the pill.
Emergency.
Kesho niende mechi na mwingine you know kama huko Kibera for instance utapata wanakwambia mimi nikienda kukazwa napewa so for breakfast you know. Anyway, economic status huko nje ni different kwa kila mmoja. So the more times anakazwa ama the more times ana engage into sex activities ndio probably ata end up and take the emergency contraceptive pills. But it shouldn't be so. Emergency contraceptive inafaa kuchukuliwa not more than 2 times a year. The reason being zinaweza zika cause hormonal imbalances and in case mtu anataka ku engage into sexual activities as many times as possible ni vizuri basi aende the regular contraceptives ambazo ni za either 1 month ama ni 1 month actually 3 months depending na vile mna agree tu na daktari wako. So emergency contraceptive, please note, ni za kutumika not more than 2 times a year.
What is the role of sex education in young people's lives? Marlene?
The role is to know how to put on a condom well.
Straight.
I don't know what answer you're expecting from me, but me, I'm
Ask
just...
the question again.
The question, and I repeat, what is the role of sex education in young people's lives? Inasaidiaje, what does it contribute to young people's lives? So is it essential? Young people, what about sex education?
I
Do you want
just
to
gave
change
you
your
one of the
answer?
reason. No, I just wanted to answer it as well, guys. It came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the role... Okay, first of all, sex education plays a very vital role in how young people make decisions. I'll just reiterate about their anatomy, autonomy, about their preferences, even sex preferences, about their sexual and reproductive health and rights, about consent. So I think it's really important in how young people execute their plans when it comes to their sexual lives.
Nice.
Yeah.
Aisha, what do you have to say, Ama, to add on to that?
Pull up selector. Sabi umeanza alafu nirudie.
Mimi sana feel ni kama tunakopi tu majibu ya
Exactly.
Mali. I feel like sina anything
To add to that, right?
Because I'm like, sitaki kushina nikirudia, but it's essential watu wajijue, especially koko sexually active.
Yeah.
If you're having sex, safe sex, kama you're not having sex, abstinence, it's also good, fine. Contraception, tumeongelea time and time again.
Yeah.
So na feel ni kama sina mengi ya ku-add.
I remember.
So I think I have a one-liner for it.
Yeah.
It's self-awareness, however sexually.
Is that not limited though?
No, self-awareness sexually.
Unakuwa self-aware within
kuwa
the
Yes.
sex life.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, true.
Ina make sense.
Yeah, because contraceptives, that's under that. You've spoken about putting on a condom, that's under that. Yeah.
Consent pia iko under
Consent,
that
it's under
because
that.
ni wewe the minute to get that information unaweza ukajua sasa nitaagree kwa vitu fulani sitaagree kwa vitu
Yes.
fulani if you want to for instance abstain that is up to you to decide on that because you have the information to be able to make the informed choices yeah
Yeah.
Sindio?
Yeah.
And I think we're all agreeing on like the explanation she gave plus what we've given. And I think another important role of sex education is to bust myths and misconceptions
Yes.
around like sexuality and all that is.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But then again, I also want to bring in the aspect of economic empowerment and also the social cultural empowerment, just like you're saying, breaking the barriers. Because most of the time, especially why, if you look at the research of why young people when are engaging into sexual activities is basically because, one, like for instance, someone lacks basic needs like sanitary towels.
Yeah.
So one engages into sex activities with a boda guy ndio aweze kupata pesa ya kubuy sanitary towels.
So it becomes more of a trade.
Yes, exactly. So once mtu akona that information, you can be able to be aware, like vile alisema tu stories za awareness, the self awareness, but pia ina kubuild capacity yako kuweza kujua it's not a must I engage into sexual activities for me to be able to provide some basic needs. I can also go and look for, to hustle, nini. Ama hata to entrepreneurial activities huku chini zenye zinaweza kukusaidia. Because I think lack of information ndio make most young people ndio ina make to part of the increased the rising numbers ya teenage pregnancies. Na hiyo ni kitu haitaisha until we empower them and also until we build capacity when it comes to the economic aspect.
Yeah, and I also think it's just like not lack of this information, it's also limited.
Yeah.
It's also limited.
That's a very good point. Because I'm going to kuuliza next. Like, before you answer, Doris, because you're our final word as a sex expert. Do you feel there are gaps when it comes to sex education? Kwa sababu, and I want you to tell me your experiences. Back either primary school or high school. Like, what is it that you learned that you thought was sexual? About sex education, yeah? Sababu sisi guys, millennials, mnakumbuka zile picha tuko tunaikewa. Is this a whole schlong, a whole dick with, unaonyeshwa hivi ndo inakaa kama iko na gonorrhea. This is what syphilis, guys, do you remember those images like in high school? Well, kuna tuletenga, I think it was one image that went to all schools, ilikuwa inatembea. You get? So it's more of a scary thing than, okay.
Yeah.
It was more to scare us and not really kutufundisha nini, you get? Like that was that was crazy though.
Hiyo unasema I didn't see that picture.
The image?
Unasema in a very
That's why I'm talking to millennials. No, like this is what they used to. Sasa they used to come to schools. Wanakuja na hizo images.
Kumaanisha hujaiona hata za HIV.
Mimi unaona amesema in a high school setup. Mimi zenye nimeona tuseme I googled them myself. Ama niende tu nitafute tu kwa mtandao. But hiyo ya shule ati tunaonyeshwa hivi. Ali textbooks zetu hazikuwa that ati.
It wasn't a textbook. They used to bring people to come and talk to us. So ini image yenye sasa let me like in this modern time like wange zoom in so
like a whole day concept.
So ikikama ni gonjwa, this is a dick that has gonorrhea, that has syphilis, like it looks like this, you get?
Yeah,
like that was what now they call sex ed during our time. My goodness, that was traumatizing.
Oh, I can imagine. But
so did you guys get anything maybe like watu kuja kuongelesha labda mkiwa primary ama secondary that was then your sex education?
Mimi naweza sema there were some experts people who are in those spaces ambao walikuwa nakuja na tuongelesha, especially during hata walikuwa nalea sana na these guidance and counseling teachers in high school. Ndio kuja ongelesha kama tunaenda let's say holiday like midterm ama nini, hizo tumefunga for a term, then tunaenda for an entire month. Ndio tunaanza kumbuza because they're like you have your boyfriend in that nini brother school of yours, unataka kwenda ku indulge in like sexual activity and nini, unaanza kuambia ukifanya hivi utakuwa hivi. Like in short they were emphasizing that you should take care of yourself, condomize to prevent like kupata STIs and unwanted pregnancies. Sisi walikuwa kituambia at least you go there una feel uko empowered, but sana feel yenye umesema yenyu mlikuwa mnaskeariwa. Unajua kuna those teachers wanakufunza watakuchapa ndio upite, so wewe unapita exam because unaogopa kiboko. It's not like ati wanakufunza you love the subject ndio upite kwa sababu unapenda whatever you learn.
Millennial, shout out.
The approach ndio tofauti.
Tuko na PTSD out here. Don't judge us when you see us acting some type of
Give
way.
them a hug.
It was
tafadhali.
those images from Mali.
I feel like Aisha
anything?
just had that image and was like, whew.
Listen, I think because I recently had this conversation with, a fellow millennial. I'm like, wow. Sisi hata by the way tulikuwa mbaya. Ilikuwa kwa sababu mimi nilisoma mashinani. Ilikuwa sasa wanatuleta pamoja na girls school. So hii ni mara ya kwanza nini unaona wazee madem ndio wamekuja shule. Alafu mnaingia kwa hall mazee ni hiyo picha tu imekuwa. So ile demo ulikuwa umesalimia na shanga. Aiezi. So yeah, so it's something that happened. Did you like get exposed to any kind of sexual education maybe?
I think I'll say what she said. It was more of, I'm caning you for you to pass this exam, but you're not seeing the benefit of you having these exams. Yeah. You get that sense. So it was ours. I'm so surprised you had sessions on condoms, like in primary. Was it primary?
Hata
Secondary.
Even primary?
Primary maybe hata once, but sidhani primary sana. Primary sana walikuwa tuambia about to sanitary towels na like ending period shame, but not about nini condoms.
Okay, because I also feel I can relate. For us, it was never about sex education. The main thing was if you have sex with a boy, you'll be pregnant, period. That was it. It was more of scaring us to move from the act.
To abstain.
Yeah, and remember on our session on my first time, we said that is when we were curious to have the practices. Yeah. So the gap was that we are curious to have it, but no one wants to talk about it directly. That it's okay, you feel like having sex now, but do it the right way, you see.
Yeah.
So the gap was we have the information, we are curious, we have first the wrong information. Yeah. So we are curious, and then we go to the practice, and then you come back to school, you're told, oh, don't have sex. And you're like, I just did, and I'm not pregnant, Yeah, so I think there is so many gaps, being that it's not like talked about as open to like young people as it should be.
Most of the things that you already mentioned, issues to do with consent, abstinence, and all that, it also gives you an opportunity to, to learn. Yeah, it is not practicing, but learning best ways to make or to feel pleasurable, or to make it, even whenever you're engaging into sexual activities, ensuring that you're enjoying, it's not just about... it is never about the act. It is never about making someone become promiscuous. It is about empowering them to make informed choices when it comes to what they would want with their bodies, what they would want to do with themselves, basically. Yeah.
Also, is it not better for them to have the right information and
It is better.
not the,
It is
the
better.
the wrong kind of information
It is.
from the fellow peers, just from, online.
Because one of the thing that I know is that many people, like I mentioned, when it comes to high rates of teenage pregnancy, it's one because they do not have the accurate information. And even when we are speaking about unsafe abortions and all that, if someone has correct information, they would be able to know, nikienda kwa Malin, who is maybe a doctor, I'm using you just as an example, she would be able to guide me on whether I should do a VA or MVA, or if I'm going to use pills to evacuate the pregnancy or to terminate the pregnancy.
Doris,
Yeah,
kidogo tu
sorry.
before uendelee. Hiyo MVA, VA yenye umeabbreviate. Si utuambie in full, watu kama sisi tunafeel. Mali unajua mimi sijui.
Wacha tu ni summarize, nisiende into the technical terms. MVA ni procedure ya kutoa ama ya terminate pregnancy. Hizi ni realities zenye ziko kwa grao, but hatupendi kuongelelea because we are very conservative country.
Not talking about it, haimanishi hizi vitu hazifanyiki kwa ground.
Zinafanyika.
Yeah.
And even as we're speaking about access to information, it is not everyone who has privilege
access,
to getting that information. We are speaking of Wazi, which is a platform. How many people, for instance, I work a lot in Kibera. How many people in Kibera have smartphones that they can be able, not even smartphones, because I heard you speak of USSD.
Yeah, your star 709 hash.
We also have issues of credit that we have people who do not really have that privilege to access information, either from online platforms or even from, okay, let's say kuna limited access to information.
And that's what I'm saying. There is a way, as much as we are advocating, there is a way we can integrate this information if we care wale watu wa chini. For example, and this is a big challenge we've had as youth advocates of sexual and reproductive health. The government can introduce age-appropriate comprehensive sex education,
Yes.
because at least not all people are able to access smartphones, as you're saying, or have this information elsewhere, but a school provides a common ground for so many young
everyone.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
And even these other young people who are not in school, at least they get to interact with those who are in school. And so one of the mitigation measures to lack of information, to limited information, I think, is that we just have to accept that young people are curious, young people are practical,
Active.
they are very much active, and that's why we have numbers. How do we explain numbers if young people are not having
Yes.
sex? Yeah. And
Unajua, most of the time they usually say that you are cooking numbers, but you can't cook numbers.
You can't.
You can't
We
cook
see them.
100,000
You
numbers.
can tell me, like, for you, where you work, you can tell me, like, these are not actual people who walk in.
and imagine their
Right?
names,
Yeah,
and even
their names.
households.
You can even, how do you even cook
And
names?
you know, even if it's just one person, it's way too many.
Yeah.
It's way too many.
Yeah.
Losing one person, that's a lot.
It's already a
Yeah, it's already a statistic.
Yes, it's proven. Yeah. So guys, remember we are telling you about Wazi. Wazi is a chatbot. Kwa hivyo pale katika website kama you have any questions to do with love, sex, relationships, or anything we've been discussing about and it's not clear to you right here on Space Yako the podcast, unaenda pale, that is wazzi.ke. Ama tu you just need more information, right? Pale ndo unaenda tunakuplug. There's a WhatsApp number, you can use that as well. We have a USSD code, kwa hivyo kama una bando usijali. All right, so you just dial *709# and there you go. That's it. Just say hi and pick up the conversation, really.
Okay.
All right, so kwa hivyo what do you wish? Hii inaanza na wewe. Maanake ni personal, yeah?
Before we go to what you want to say, I'll just like to hear like opinions, and I'll start with you, Gladwell. Like, whose responsibility do you think it is that these young people get to access like sex education?
Haya. Kwanza siko sure kama curriculum mpya ya Kenya wana introduce. Nilikuwa nimeona some debate somewhere pale kwa mtandao, internet, and they were saying that CBC inapaswa ku encompass the sex education, waieke pale like shule ndo the students pale wanafunzi waanze kufunzwa at such a si tender age, but wakiwa wadogo. It's good to, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Najua mnajonga hiyo proverb. So like it's essential for them waanze kufunzwa wakiwa watoto. So niko like, if at all bado kwa CBC haijawekwa, you as a parent wenye ni wazazi pale, I feel like kwanza nitashinda tu nikireiterate, it should begin at home. Ikuwe ni wazazi, iwe ni your older siblings, semeni relatives, cousins, kina nani wenye wako older than wanajua hizo vitu, they should take it upon themselves wajaribu kufunza watu. Then sasa for seme organizations ama people who work in healthcare, na hizo tu vitu zote wako na the capacity and they have the spaces and the platforms to actually share this information, wanajituma tu, wanaenda tu. So I feel like wanaweza pata such people either in, unaangalia places watu wamekuja pamoja. Sitaki kusema ti churches juu kuna kuwa na some controversy hapo, but in schools, in just normal forums. Na pia mimi najitolea because I've been in this space, so I feel like it's something I can also do. Na pia hapa kwa Space Yako the podcast, we are helping people. Tell a friend, watch this podcast, utakuja kusaidika sana. Yeah, Aisha, na unaonaje? Whose responsibility is, who should bear the burden ya kufunza watu kuhusu sex education? Kwanza I feel like before tuendelee sana, kuna series fulani inaitwa sex education. I know
It's so much fun. Yeah.
Labda wanasikia sex education washa watch hiyo series, but anyway, hebu tuambie
It's
vile
so
yako.
much. It's such a cool series and it's so much fun. For me as a parent, I'm doing it to my son.
Nice.
Wow. Kidogo tu. I just like to ask him, what do you think about hivyo.
Kwa umbali.
Yeah.
Tusikie ni nini anajua.
Yeah, hivyo tu, kidogo tu.
So it's kind of...
Because like right now he knows about the podcast. Like, oh, it's a podcast about sex and love and relationship. I'm like, yes, that is what I do now. So he knows. So hivyo tu pole pole, you get. And as a parent, I will tell you for a fact, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So he cannot get all the information from me. So huwezi, in as much as he can start from home, but hawezi kupata kila kitu kutoka kwangu. Right? So it's ni jukumu la kila mtu. If you're an older sibling, kuna a younger sibling, you get. It just doesn't have to be the responsibility of the parent. In as much as pia mzazi utaongea na mtoto wako. Right? Haya, kama sasa najua Doris, I can introduce Lamar to Doris. When he has a question that anaona hawezi kuniuliza mimi kama mzazi, ataenda tuongee na Doris. You get. So you create those channels and networks for your child to get the right information. Yeah? You remember kama Dr. Claire was here?
Yeah.
Akasema, as a gyna, you create those channels for your patient. You need to know her therapy, kwa sababu kila kitu, not everything it's about just physically. It can also be your mental health that is affecting, you know, things in your body, like vitus and things are just going mulama for you. You get. So for her, as a doctor, you heard, guys, she said you connect those networks with the other doctors. Yeah. So kama for example, amekuwa akiona therapist, unafaa kujua sasa history ya huyu patient. Yeah. So I believe as a parent, it's my responsibility to create the networks for him. Like kama huwezi kuongea na mimi kuhusu hii, basi naenda kwa Gladwell. Kama Gladwell hayuko, naenda kwa Marlin. Kama you get. Kama hayuko kabisa, naenda kuna ile clinic, go and ask for Doris. So we can create networks.
Nice.
I'm happy that you speak to your son.
I do a lot.
I'm happy that you speak to your son because I think that is a gap that is in many families and is in our society as a whole. Not many parents are open to speaking to their children. Hata sisi ambao ni millennial na kuna Gen Z. Mimi bado si mzazi, but I think hii generation inasaidia sahi, si kama zile enzi zetu. I don't remember my mom talking to me about anything sex education until way later when vitu zisha jipa, you know, tushajua sex ni nini, tushaanza kupractice. That is now when I'll go like, na ujua unaweza pata mimba. Tayari kama ushakuwa exposed. But I'm happy that you speak to your son. And I think it's all our responsibility.
It is.
Both from the government, ensuring that hata policies zenye zinatengenezwa na zikuwe implemented, si kupasiwa tu, because we have very beautiful policies in our countries. But what's the biggest problem
is implementation.
Beautiful
handwriting.
Beautiful in
The other one was not beautiful.
Yeah.
No, the age of consent. The age policy.
Yeah, the reproductive
21
health
years.
policy is not,
That is not
at
beautiful.
all beautiful. But anyway, government inafaa kuensure zile policies zinatengenezwa na wazitengenezei kwa boardroom. Wakuje huku kwa ground. Tuambie ni nini ambayo
and not face value.
And exactly.
Watutumie sisi kusaidia kuchagua the policies.
Exactly. So vijana ndio wakwe involve kutengeneza policies zenye zinawaguide, because hizi ni policies zao. Si ndio? Na zikuwe implemented. Sio kuwekwa tu kwa vitabu alafu zinapailiwa pale ati tumelaunch, you know, zinaenda kupata vumbi tu huko kwa shelves. Again, when it comes to pastors, nilisikia ulisema religion and then ukasema hapana, it is controversial. But it's needed.
It is.
Because sahi kuna watu wako kwa choir, kuna watu wako kwa praise and worship, and let me tell you, they are very active in sex.
Yes.
But because wako kwa kanisa wakienda pale on Sunday, wako kwa mic, you know, ni wa safety. But in reality, they are engaging into these activities. Unapata, they are the same people wenye wanakutafuta kando, kadot mazina naweza toa bolo.
Ina sound kama watu wa CU.
Naweza toa bolo wapi?
How far?
Watu wa CU, mnajijua.
Naweza pata bolo, naweza toa bolo wapi? Si ndio? So, hizi vitu zote hata kwa church inahitajika education ifanyike pale. Wazazi wetu wachukue responsibility pia kutufundisha ama kutuongelesha. My niece, I give personal stories a lot. My niece has just turned 9 years, and some time back she had seen sanitary towels in my suitcase, and she was like, na hizi ni nini zinakaa mikate? Is, you know, vile zikifoldwa zinakaa like 2 pieces of cakes or bread. And she, nini? So I was trying to explain to her what it is. That's before at 9 years. And she was like, okay. So hata mimi nitazitumia? And I'm like, yeah, utazitumia. But sasa because of course kulingana na age yake, you have to save the kind of information yenye unamwambia. So juzi she went for a camp, wakafundishwa hizo stories za sanitary towels. And she was like, ati ile mkate ulikuwa unakataa kuniambia ni nini, nilijua nini. Wametuonyesha na nikaonyesha hata vile inatumika. And she was very excited. So unaona kama mtoto at that age 9 years, and then she's very slim. So unaweza fikiria hata ni katoto zaidi hata kama mtu akaanza kufikiria vitu kama hizo. But kama mtoto kama huyu anaweza kuuliza such questions, si umuongeleshe tu, mwambie.
Because we were the one to give the right information to that child.
Because hii historia kuambia mtoto ati wacha. Ukishika mwanaume unapata mimba. Nikikushika sipati mimba. Si uniambie tu have sex
and then
utapata mimba. Waongeleshe tu. And then also we as young people tunafaa kwa proactive hata kutafuta this information. You may not know everything, and hakuna mtu anajuaga kila kitu, but you can consult with your peers, with your friends, with even your teachers and everybody. With Wazi. Such platforms to just ensure that you're getting the correct information.
True, manake unaona kama wazazi, for me as a parent, you can say ati jukumu tu mnachia the schools to do it. So everyone, like the networks, it's everywhere. You see, like the fact you even mentioned about church and the choirs. Yeah, I know people who have stories from choirs. Like that is when they had like their first oral sex, and so these things are happening.
Kwanza mimi I remember, maybe just to give a very short story. There's a time nilikuwa nimeinvitiwa kwa church kupeana a talk on values, living as a Christian, as a young person within the Christian life. Na while we are conversation ya condom ilikuja, conversations za abortions ilikuja. So mimi, being in a church, I was told, please do not speak anything about condoms.
You filter the information you want to give.
Yeah, but then I'm speaking to people above the age of between 18 and 25 years. And you're telling me not to speak because it's a church, But then that question comes, how do you respond to that? And for me, I was very open to them. They are not under 18, so I'm like, I'm telling you, nitakujibu tu. So I was explaining to them how even to use a condom and all that. And when the pastor
you are
had
doing
that, let me tell you, nilifukuza kanisa for some time.
You're excommunicated.
So churches will take to responsibility kuwa empower, because sex ina happen hata kwa church, even with those pastors na hata wazee wa kanisa as it is, but juu tunahitajika kusave information umsawi. But Allah, it's my work.
It is your work.
It is.
It's my work.
Stand by whatever
Why if you
do.
ask me condom ni ya nini, mbona nikufiche? Kwani si eti ni kibuyu ya kuchotelea maji?
Na si balloon.
Na
Oh
si
my God, my
balloon.
childhood trauma is
Kubwa.
Si balloon.
Inakutrigger.
Ni balloon
yeah,
kubwa.
like this conversation.
Si balloon.
Si
So
balloon.
hata mashule pia na wao waache kutukazia kupeana information kwa schools because hiyo ni kitu ingine. Walimu sijui there's a lot of controversies anyway when it comes to sex education.
Sex education.
Yeah.
Sindio? Kama hiyo time yenye walikuwa na debate kama like they introduced it to the schools, they said no, we're supposed to teach children to abstain and not.
But you know it's not everybody who can abstain.
Yeah.
And why are we assuming they're not active?
Wako
You get?
sexually active.
Why are we assuming
Like I've said that my niece is 9 years. At 9 years anakwambia kuna kipindi ya 10 zile zenye zinakujaga from
Soap
10
operas.
soap operas anataka kuwatch hizo vipindi na utamkazia by the way.
And in the middle of that,
They're in
there's
the
a
middle
sex
of
scene.
that. Yes.
Unazima
What
TV.
happens?
So papa siku hizi kuna sex scenes.
Yes.
Okay, not really like
kuna zingine
exposing.
ambazo ziko not very explicit but zinaonyesha
Zinaonyesha nini?
Foreplay kwanza,
Foreplay,
then
kissing
wanakata
and
hiyo
all that.
scene.
Soap operas.
Ama wanaonyesha chini ya blanket.
Like 5 to 6 p.m.
Ama hizo
Bro.
zote, ama uende
Za what time?
telenovela,
Za 10.
10 p.m.
Oh, it's at 10 p.m. That used to be the bold and the beautiful for us guys.
Sasa unaona for the miss,
Okay.
ndo kidogo
Oh, so bana
tricky.
wananizi wanapiga na mate. All right, so let me ask you, what is one thing that you feel young people are misinformed, about? Like kitu ambayo ni frequent sana kwako. When you wanakuja yani ni hii like okay, this is so frequent. Nini ambao watu hawajui sana?
I would start with consent.
Yeah.
Many people do not know their rights when it comes to engaging into sex. Why I'm saying that is because utapata like jana a lot of my personal stories again.
We love them.
And examples. Jana I was conducting an intergenerational dialogue. And intergenerational meaning tulikuwa na mapastors, tulikuwa na the religious leaders, teachers, parents, children, or rather the young people, the chiefs and all that. And one of the things that was coming out clearly, even vile tumemaliza to the 16 days of activism, you realize that watu wengi wako na assumption that simply because you're married to someone, you should engage into sex at any given time. Like you don't have to seek permission from your partner, but it is not the case.
Can you speak in the context of relationships? Because
Yes.
quite
For young relationships. People. Just because mtu ako in a relationship with someone, it is assumed that you should be ready at any given time to engage into sex. Yes, but actually, it is not so.
True. I'd like to support your point. Unajua in the States and probably many other countries or states out there, wanakuanga na this law ambayo inasema in as much as there is a husband and a wife, I'm talking about a heterosexual relationship, kuna a husband and a wife na kuna zile conjugal rights. I know you know them about like sex, conjugal, hizo ndo conjugal rights for married people. But for them inakuanga, so unajua consent, you can withdraw consent.
Yes.
Unaweza kuwa umekubali at first, but you can withdraw your consent ukisikia I no longer to continue with whatever this is. Unaona? So kuna wale ambao wanashtaki their husbands ama hata a husband anashtaki wife yake for rape because I did not want to proceed with whatever. Mimi nime withdraw consent yangu, but juu umeshinda ukiinsist ukisema I am your husband, I am your wife, I own you, you own me. Conjugal rights ni must. So I must have the sex that I want. So such people inakuwa tu kesi hapa kwa a court of law. Na ni ile unaambiwa you have raped your own wife, you have raped juu yeye ali withdraw consent ukasema sitaki kusikia hayo maneno. Sasa unaona?
Yeah, so hiyo ni kitu moja ambayo iko kwa most of our relationships. Unapata tu mtu amekuja yani aulizi hata uko sawa unataka, because sex starts from the mind. Yeah, and you also as a person should be ready for it not just because to go in a relationship and unataka tu kukuja kunilalia. It doesn't work like that. Niulize kwanza. So that is one of the things that I wish people would know, that it is okay for you to withdraw your consent at any given time, and it is okay for you to give consent when you want and when you're ready about it.
Yeah. And what is anything new about sex ambao unajua sahi that you didn't know in the past? Because sex education, definitely your knowledge on sex inaendelea tu ku-evolve. Unakuwa exposed to very many like spaces, pages, TikTok, kila kitu, everything, everyone talks about this thing. So nini niyo kitambo hauko unajua, but sai unajua, and you feel like you want to tell the audience pale wajue.
So, before we get to that, can you finish about consent?
Oh, ni sawa.
Kwa sababu kuna kitu mambo umetaja that was very important here, because you're giving examples za Kibra about mambo ya social and economical, empowerment that really plays a major role. That's why, we're having it as a trade, right?
Yeah.
Kwa hivyo ukija katika power play, ama najua nahitaji sanitary towels, najua nataka mkate lakini sina, so I'm gonna do ABCD. So when it comes to power play, how do you handle consent in that particular, situation?
Okay, probably it could be difficult to some people who are not privileged to, to even negotiate for sex, because it's not everyone who has that capacity or even knowledge to know that they should be able to negotiate for sex. Many a times that, like maybe just going back even to why we are having increased numbers of teenage pregnancy, is because there's no power, there's no ability for some people to negotiate for safer sex. By safer sex, I mean that you're able to use a condom to protect yourself from getting pregnant, but also to protect yourself from other diseases and STIs. So power dynamics zinahinda sana your negotiation of sex, because unapata, for example, hata kama umeemployiwa ama hata shule for grades, sijui bado kole kama bado zina nini hivyo, but schools unapata because unataka ku get grades poa, ama hata not because unataka ku get grades poa, but because kuna walimu,
they just
lecturers wenye so power plays, or rather the power dynamics, inahinda that opportunity for someone to negotiate for safer sex, which is really one of the reasons as to why hizi issues bado zinaendelea, especially the unsafe sex, leading to all these problems, including unintended pregnancies and STIs and all
abortions,
that. So it's very important that watu wakuwe able to have the honest and open conversations, as well as be able to negotiate consent for their own things, that, to be able just to make informed decisions in regards to their reproductive health and their bodily autonomy.
Alafu sasa back to my question. Hata ningependa nyinyi mniambie, what is new about sex enye mlilearn ambao mko mnajua kitambo, but right now you do know and you'd like to maybe share with the audience, watu wajue ni nini hiyo mmejua about sex that is new for you at the moment. Ama I can start. Let me start.
I'm really trying to think, like, what is new?
Let me start. A very small percentage, sikumbuki the exact percentage, but it is statistically proven. Utenda pale Google ama ask wazi. So a very small percentage of women actually orgasm via penetrative sex. So you might be there having penetrative sex and you're not orgasming and you're thinking, I am not normal. No. Uko sawa. A very small percentage actually do orgasm via penetrative sex. Kuna people who orgasm via like foreplay too, ata orgasm. Kuna watu wengine, if you just touch their nipples kidogo wako sensitive, asha orgasm. Kila mtu ako different, everybody's different.
We said the clitoris has how many nerves?
8,000!
Yeah, okay, that is not what I learned, but that was also new to me.
Okay.
But I think one important thing I have learned is that sex education is not just about sex. like we have sexualized, not we, but the society has sexualized it so much. That's why we say, when you take it to church, they say you're encouraging people to have sex. When you take it to school, you're encouraging young people to have sex. So I learned that we can unsexualize it and unpack it in a way it's age appropriate, and young people are able to digest it and apply it in the way they want. And another key thing I have learned, not just today, but even in our previous conversations, there is consent and there is informed consent. Like when there is power dynamics playing in between, that is not informed consent, because that is then manipulation. But informed consent, ni ile, I know I'm saying yes because I know the consequences and I'm choosing to do this still. Or I know I'm saying no because I know the consequences and I don't want to do this. So there is consent and informed consent.
Wow.
True.
Yeah.
Marlene, you've been waiting for that question. I can tell you are prepared.
No, I was having it in mind when she was talking about consent, and I was like,
Unaona vile alikuwa amenyamaza.
I'm listening, I'm learning.
She was just like, ngoja nitaangalia.
Mwanafunzi bora.
What I've learned is sex spelled backwards. Bado, you can read it as sex, but with an X.
Oh.
Okay.
Zegs. That's why you say zegs.
No, that is
Okay.
a streeter.
Okay.
That is something very stupid. I've come up with it right now because Gladwell is on my neck about this particular question. But it makes sense. Many creativity.
Creativity mbaya.
Pay talents, pay creatives. Anyway, so this has been a class, students. This has been a sex education class. What have we learned?
Mimi nataka kuanzia.
So,
What I have learned.
Hii kwa hii class yetu ya
Kwa hii
sex
class,
education.
hii peke yake.
Yes.
Nimelearn that sex education promote consensual relationships, and it is also a form of self-care and self-respect. It is good for you to know about this sex education. Ndo make informed decisions. Kama unataka withdraw, as we have said, una withdraw. If you want to continue, unaendelea. That is what I have learned. That is my takeaway for today, guys.
Okay.
Amazing.
powerful, sure. Okay. What I have learned, not really new, but something important you've really touched on, is that in all the conversations we've had, sex education plays a major role when it comes to having the power to make choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it gives power and like the audacity to even try and tell someone, do you know it's my right to? Yeah, sex education is so important.
Lakini usijaribu
Aish.
Mbona mwanangalia?
Na polisi wa Kenya.
Tunaona ukiflip cards.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Akili nimefikiria sana. Anyway, mimi nimelearn kama Aisha that even if you're not active, it's good to have this information, right? Si lazima ati mtu mwenye ako na information ati sasa ndo unaangalia some type of way like, unajua sana. Hapana, ni poa kuwa informed, cheki, sawa? Ni poa kukuwa informed whether you're active or not. Also, like if you're aware about these things, you know, self-awareness, then let's say Doris is my partner. I wouldn't mind telling you like, when you touch my tits, this is what I feel. You know, like this is what I like. You know, like your preferences, your desires, your
you're able to
needs,
say.
your partner, like you say them out loud bila kufeel ashamed, because at the end of the day kila ni pleasure. Me, I always say that by all the episodes. Check it, it's about pleasure. At the end of the day,
Very
right?
important.
Very important.
Very, very
end
important.
goal yako ni nini kasi pleasure. So it's also, you know, you become self-aware, and the way I love that you talked about self-care. Self-care, self-love. So ni poa kukuwa informed. And if you need more information, please go to wazi.ke, that is WAZZI.ke, ama USSD *709#.
Okay. Amen, sister.
We know you know about sex education, but what have you learned yourself?
Wow. A lot.
Na usitungarie.
Aseme ile
Aseme moja.
Yes, moja tu,
Naseme
like,
moja.
sema
Moja
niko
tu.
aware.
But
you know, okay,
niko aware, but
answer from.
usitungarie
So,
Doris.
in this conversation, I have learned, guys,
I have learned from Mali, Naisha, and Gladwell.
that
What have you learned from us, Doris?
Okay. Nerves.
just say.
Because she's supposed to lie.
You're about to lie to us.
Has 8,000 nerves.
Wow.
It's has reminded me anyway.
It's actually more than.
Yeah. But also maybe also e-platform. Wazi sikuwa naijua.
Sema
Walai sikuwa najua stories za wazi, but at least imenisaidia kujua this such a platform yenye pia naweza nikavuta watu pia wakuje kupata information. Yeah, and also maybe just to add that besides wazi pia we have other organizations wenye wanapeana hizi information out there, so ni vizuri pia vijana wajitoe tu wao wenyewe, kama wazazi wamekataa kuambia ama walimu wamekataa kupeana this information, watafute tu hizi other platforms pia. Yeah.
But again, on information, I think it's also important to mention, as you're trying to like kutuliza hiyo queue ya no. Just know that out there we have all kind of information. And it's good to always look for information in platforms where they are verified and authentic. That is really, really important. Google, I can't speak for Google because I am not an expert in that, but we have, for example, I can speak for Wazi because that is what I'm advocating for young people to plug in and get the information. So it's really important to know the credibility of the sources of this information. Yeah.
Na in case wakose like wakisipopata credible information elsewhere, wanaweza tu ni reach.
Yes.
Expert has talked.
Yes. How to contact you.
Yeah, also I'll share my number to you persons. But kwa online wanaweza nipata via Twitter at Kathia, at Lovable Kathia, via Facebook Lovable Kathia.
Lovable. Yeah.
That's a synonym for Doris.
Oh yeah.
For those who don't know English.
Okay.
By LinkedIn, Doris Kathia.
Ana shine tumemwambia podcast yetu.
Mtabebu hatuna bounce huko. Uonge vizuri baby.
Yeah. And also anaweza follow our organization at Raise Your Voice, CBO, and we'll be able also to share information.
Nice. Unataka kurudi?
Yeah. Sana. Mara nyingine mingi.
Mara 20.
Tumefunga.
In future.
Anyway, so tukimaliza we normally tunamalizanga na a rap session.
Oh Lord.
So I hope you have. Can you rap? That's how we do it. Just rap about like consent, like what you learned. You have to rap, Doris. Yeah.
Information. Consent.
Quite serious. I'm giving you a last chance, Doris. Guys, Ebu drum.
You're so serious.
Acha mimi nimalize nayo sawa. Nikisema wa mnasema zi. Wa
Z.
Wa
Z.
Nikisema wa mnasema zi. Wa
Z.
Wa
Z.
And we're out. Shaking.
Peace out.
We're still better to now. We're trying as a band, as a group. But you can hire us for your gigs. Talk to management.
$10 per hour.
Bye-bye.
Bye guys.